Alright folks, this is it. This is the greatest thing that I managed to acquire at New York Comic Con. I went to pretty much every booth on the dealer's room floor, and I finally found one all the way in the last corner. I mean, it could have been the first corner if I started on that side, but, you know, semantics. Anyway, it is a figure which, if I had tried to buy it 6 months ago, would have probably run me well over $200 because of how rare it was. And even now that there's been a re-release of it, it is still very difficult to find. I am of course referring to the 4-inch Black Series Ahsoka figure. Yes, as we all know, ever since Disney acquired the Star Wars license, the toy line, ever from Force Awakens onward, stopped focusing on their super articulated 4-inch figures in favor of making the 6-inch Black Series figures with all the good articulation, while all the 4-inch figures are reduced to those simple Kenner-style 5 POA things. But Walmart did do a re-release of some of the Black Series characters in that scale, and even so, the Ahsoka figure is very difficult to find because scalpers flock to Walmart to take them, and of course I don't live anywhere near a Walmart, so the fact that I managed to find one, oh, it just made me so happy. I mean, we all know how the minimalist Black Series packaging goes with just that black and white image of her face, and a very brief description on the back. Let's zoom in. Anakin Skywalker's apprentice, Ahsoka Tano, left the Jedi Order before it was destroyed during the Great Jedi Purge, but the truth of her fate remains unknown. Yes, this is the Ahsoka Tano figure, like, right at the end of the Clone Wars series. Like, this is like, how many seasons did Clone Wars have? 3, 4? I think this is like 3rd or 4th season Ahsoka. So she's not wearing her little tube top anymore. She's gotten a little bit more mature. I don't know how fast Toragutans go through puberty, but she definitely grew up a bit over the course of the series. So let's get her out of the box and take a look at her. This is everything I love about Ahsoka. The figure is, of course, extremely well detailed. Let's get a nice zoom in. We get a nice look at teen Ahsoka's face with all of her facial markings picked out, her stripes, even her hair decorations. Although she doesn't really have hair so much as she has fleshy horns growing out of her head. But everything, even at this smaller scale, is lovingly picked out, and they did not mess up anything. Going down the figure, you see they got all those bands on her arms, each one individually painted. Even if the details are a little bit mushy at this scale. We got her boob window with her nice orange cleavage there. Nice to see nobody tried to censor it. You see all the detailings around her dress, including here on what I'm going to call the loincloth bit. All that is not just a tampograph, it's actually sculpted on and painted. So this is part of the sculpt. She has a cloth dress so that it doesn't impede her legs, and a little bit of mispaint apps on her legs here, although they did go for them, so I'll give them credit for it. Look, they even picked out the buckles on her boots in gold. This is a beautifully painted figure. I mean, for how little Hasbro tends to paint their Transformers, it's good to see that they actually gave all of the love to this Ahsoka. Now, Ahsoka comes with 4 accessories. They are, of course, her lightsabers. The first forms of the lightsabers are going to be the unlit ones. You got her short lightsaber here and her long one here. They are solid sculpts. There is nowhere to put a blade into them, although I guess at this tiny scale they would easily break. And they have pegs. Let's get her arms out of the way. And she has a couple of holes in her belt, so you simply put the pegs coming off the lightsaber's handles into her belt, like so. There we go. And there you go. She is wielding her lightsabers. They are totally tight in there, not going to accidentally fall out, and they do very little to actually impede her movement. Yeah. That's a thing of beauty. I love it. I love it. I love it. And of course, you also have the lightsabers in their ignited forms. You have the short blade lightsaber, which I think might be repurposed from Yoda, and a longer blade lightsaber. They are both the straight-handled variety, by the way. And as you will note, they are green. So let's get her unlit ones off. Yes, I believe she would wield the longer bladed lightsaber in her right hand. The fingers are sculpted in such a way that you can't really front load them, but they are flexible enough to just kind of stretch out of the way. And you put the other one in her right hand, thusly. And you have Ahsoka with her sabers. She holds onto them very firmly. Nothing is loose. Nothing's going to fall out. And it looks marvelous. Oh, so much love, so much love. Okay, let's break down the articulation. Ahsoka has a ball-jointed head. And because her horns are shorter in her teenage form, she can actually turn her head quite a lot, as opposed to adult Ahsoka that has difficulty turning her head. Universal shoulders, I love it, with some detents. Although there is enough wiggle room between the detents so you can get things in between them. A universal elbow joint that can bend a solid 90 and rotate at the bicep. And she has wrist swivels, but they're not in her wrists. They're actually this whole gauntlet piece. So the entire gauntlet turns with her hand. I think that's kind of cool. She has a waist joint. That's one thing, because it kind of breaks immersion, because then you can see that doesn't look organic at all. I guess if they had the waist joint set a bit lower, it could have been hidden by her belts. But I guess the way the belts curve down. Now we are about to approach the one flaw of the Black Series 4-inch line, and that is merely swivel cut hips. There is no universal articulation in the hips. They only go forward and backward. Although they do go all the way backward and, if not held back by the belts, all the way forward. So she can do a splits. So that's pretty cool. A universal joint at the knee, which is a little bit less than necessary because there's no hip swivel. Although I guess you can get her sitting with her legs crossed. Yeah, hooray! And she has an ankle joint, but the ankle only rotates. As far as I'm aware, it does not move up or down or inwards. Although it doesn't really need to do those things because, like I said, you're not going to get her legs to go apart, so you don't really need ankle rocker articulation. So that is spectacular. This does everything I want Ahsoka to do. It's a beautiful figure, and it is Clone Wars Ahsoka. The Ahsoka that many fanboys like myself spent years getting attached to. So this is the iconic Ahsoka. This is the Ahsoka that we grew up with. I guess the only way it could be better is if it was actually first appearance Ahsoka, with her tube top and stuff. Because when they released her figure, they were afraid to make her arms any thicker by giving it elbow joints. So they gave her really skinny arms because she was really young when the show first started. And because the arms are so thin, they couldn't give it elbow joints, and I felt that held that figure back. If they can make first appearance Ahsoka with elbow joints, I think that's the only way that I could love it more than this thing. Now, of course, we have to compare Clone Wars Ahsoka to her Rebels counterpart. And the fact that they are done in completely different scales is going to be a little bit difficult to do, but, you know, it's still the Black Series. Whether the Black Series always delivered good figures to us, whether they were going in the 4-inch scale or the 6-inch scale. And although I will compliment some aspects of adult Ahsoka's design, for example, the way her armor is designed gives a very good place to hide her waist articulation / chest ball joint, so that she can move around without breaking the sculpt as her 4-inch counterpart does. Although the more complicated hip skirts actually do hinder her leg articulation a little bit more, even though she has universal jointed hips now. So, you know, that she's not perfect. Her slightly longer skirt holds her legs back just a little bit, not extremely, but just a little bit. And of course, adult Ahsoka has hooks on her hips, whereas teen Ahsoka has holes that her lightsabers peg into. And of course, the biggest thing is that her lightsabers have changed designs. Her longer blade lightsaber has a curved hilt, and of course, she has the white blades in them to show that she is no longer an official member of the Jedi Order. Because as you know, Jedi wield blue, green, and sometimes purple lightsabers. Sith wield red lightsabers. And Ahsoka, who is associated with none of them, has opted to go with white sabers. I don't know where she found white lightsaber crystals, or if they're artificially made, but it is a nice little design element. The only thing that could really be better is if both of these figures were in the same scale. I don't know whether I would want adult Ahsoka in the Black Series 4-inch scale, or if I would want teen Ahsoka to be made in the 6-inch scale, but I do know this. If they're ever going to make teen Ahsoka in the 6-inch scale, they first have to do first appearance Ahsoka from season 1 of Clone Wars. Because then we can put first appearance next to most recent appearance, and that would be awesome, and I'd love that. Yeah, I will buy pretty much any variant of Ahsoka as long as it has enough articulation. Like the Ahsoka, the 4-inch adult Ahsoka is one of those 5-point of articulation figures that looks really good, but I really just cannot get behind a sword-wielding figure that I can't put into awesome poses like this. Well, you know, I'm not gonna mess around because I don't want the video to be over long, but you know what I mean. When your figure has swords, they need to be able to pose with swords and look awesome, and you just can't do that with 5 points of articulation. I'm sorry. So this has been Wakeangel2K1, and I seriously love this figure. If you're an Ahsoka fan, if you have any way of acquiring this thing without an eBay scalper raping you, I would highly recommend it. Do it. It's beautiful and you will love it. Alright, before I gush the rest of my guts out, I'm gonna sign off.